All right, hey folks, good afternoon. Thank you. All right, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Arun Ulag. I run the Azure Data team here at Microsoft. We have a ton of innovation landing here at Build. So I'll give you a quick overview, and then Amir will do tons and tons of demos. So let's get started. We all recognize that AI is rapidly changing the world. No surprise to anybody here, no surprise to anybody online. But we're all data people. We recognize that AI is only as good as the data that it gets to work on. The best AI models, if you put garbage in, most likely you're going to get garbage out. That's why it's become incredibly important for customers to be able to get their data estate ready for AI. Now, at Microsoft, we've been hard at work. Over the last couple of decades, we've built a lot of products, dozens and dozens of products, that really allow you to go work across your entire data and AI estate. Products like Power BI, products like SQL, products like Azure Machine Learning, Cognitive Services, Azure OpenAI, etc. And it's not just that we've built these products, but each of these products are industry-leading in their categories. Now, don't just take my word for it. If you look at the Gartner Magic Quadrants, you'll find that in every Gartner Magic Quadrant related to data and AI, Microsoft is a clear leader. You see the Gartner Magic Quadrant for data integration, you see the Gartner Magic Quadrant for cloud databases, and you see the Gartner Magic Quadrants for artificial intelligence and business intelligence. And putting it all together, like these are the 4 Gartner Magic Quadrants that go across the data and AI estate, and you'll find that only one vendor is a clear leader in all 4 Gartner Magic Quadrants, and that's Microsoft. So the capabilities and products we have built are not just that that they cover the entire gamut of the capabilities you're looking for, but they're also industry leading in their categories. However, when we talk to customers, the message we consistently get is please unify. I want to be the chief information officer. I don't want to be the chief integration officer. Help me translate AI into my competitive advantage. And that is exactly what we're doing with Microsoft Fabric. With Fabric, we have put all of the capabilities together so that you can get a purpose-built product that gives developers all of the capabilities they need to go from raw data to AI or BI value in the hands of their business users. Now, Build is a developer conference. So what I wanted to do was talk to you about how Fabric applies to application developers. And when we think about application developers, we think about all of the things that they need to do to get applications built at scale. Okay. Now, what I wanted to do was just think about a web-based application. Let's say you're a retailer and you're building a web-based application that you want to use to serve your customers. And you want the experience to be delightful, you want it to be highly performant, you want it to be globally scalable. Well, first of all, you need a database, and most likely a SQL database to store all of your transaction history. But it's not just good enough to have a database, you also need to have a middle tier which can encapsulate your business logic. So now you have 3 components. But when you have a middle tier, you often want an API layer that you can use to activate the middle tier. So you're building an API layer into your application. Okay. Now that you have all of these components end-to-end, when you deploy your application and you scale this up globally, you need telemetry. You need telemetry so that you know exactly how your application performs and you can exactly understand the experience that you're delivering for your end users. Now, what's the point of having telemetry unless you have good alerting? If things go wrong, you want to make sure that you as a developer can instantly react to things that are happening in your application. Well, when things happen to your application, you need good lifesight. You need to be able to answer look at the telemetry, you need to be able to analyze it, and you'll be able to figure out exactly what's going wrong so that you can improve your application. Now, if you're building an e-commerce website as a store, guess what? You want to create recommendations for your business users, for your users, to be able to figure out which other products that they may be interested in buying. Well, you probably want to build a machine learning model for that. And to build a machine learning model, it needs to collect data, not just in terms of the products that the users have purchased, but also what they're interested in, what they've browsed, et cetera. And you want that real-time feed to feed back into your web experience. Right? And if you have all of this, you typically are being asked for a chat experience so that your business users can actually just chat with your website and figure out what they want to buy. And if you have executives and managers, guess what? They always want to know how things are going, so you need to build some Power BI reports and dashboards as well. So this is, starting from a simple application, this is what you as a developer end up needing to go build to make this come alive for your customers. Guess what? All of this can be fit into Microsoft Fabric. And with the announcements that we're making this week, we're making it really easy for you to build end-to-end applications in Microsoft Fabric that help you really get these applications in the hands of your business users. What you're seeing here is a task flow that encapsulates all of these components and gives you the entire backend as a service running in Microsoft Fabric. So to give you a quick sense of how Fabric can help you with your application development, I'm going to invite my friend Adam Saxton on stage. He's going to build this application and show you how that works. Adam, over to you.
Thanks, Arun. Yo, what's up, everyone? All right, so let's take a look at this vision of an application. So we're going to start off. Let's imagine we've got a products website that we're selling things as part of it. That's great, but we want to take it up a level, and we want to integrate a chat into the website so that our customers can interact and get information about the products that we're selling, right? As part of this, we're going to leverage Cosmos DB to enable that chat and save that inside. And using Cosmos DB is really quick. We just spin up a few containers for chat history. We'll have product catalog as part of that. And it's as easy, I can just drop some JSON data right into Cosmos DB if I wanted to, but you're all developers, you probably like endpoints, and we've got a connection string that you can leverage to just use it with your application, even outside of Microsoft Fabric, which is great. This ties into those APIs that Arun was talking about in the flow. Okay, so now what? Now what we want to do is we want to actually go create a user data function. We need to get this and use this in our application. So this user data function is actually going to perform the search. We can call AI components as part of this if we want. And at the end of that, it's actually going to write this back into our Cosmos DB database for that chat history. Then I can just go get the endpoint for this user data function that's inside of Fabric, and I can go apply that inside of my application so that it then executes that based on the chat that's happening inside of the application, which is amazing, right? So we're bringing all of this together with Microsoft Fabric. These endpoints are available for you, or APIs for you to leverage with your applications or even outside of Fabric, but Fabric is maintaining all of this for me. Okay, so then we need to go do a little bit more. First, we can see that that chat history now is dropping into our Cosmos DB, which is great, but we need to go get insights off of this, based on products that people are buying, some of the similarity as part of that. To do that, we're going to jump into a notebook inside of Microsoft Fabric. Everybody loves a notebook. I can go do some sentiment analysis. We can apply more AI to this, power that back into OneLake that's sitting inside of Fabric, so all the data is in one spot, being leveraged across different items inside of Microsoft Fabric. And this will continue that journey into Power BI, where we can then go get insights off of that, because you can't have insights without Power BI as part of that. Okay. So that was the data journey of this application, but we need to do more, right? I don't want to just sell products. I want to go ahead and offer recommendations as well. We need to sell more than just the one product. So let's look at how we can do this inside of Fabric as well. For this, we're going to go back and we're going to go over to another user data function. And so this is actually generating the recommendations based on product sales and product history that the customer is doing. And then that's actually writing that back into Cosmos DB as well. So now we're kind of leveraging data to get even more insights and harness that recommendation. And then we'll create another user data function where the application can actually leverage that to extract it and display it with inside of the website. And this has to be fast. Because if you're ever on a website trying to buy a product, you don't want to sit there and wait, right? And so because we're inside of Fabric, everything is fast. When it's being used, we're tying in all the data. Everything looks good. So I got a little excited, and I went and had a stretch goal as part of this. So I loved Microsoft Fabric as part of this, so I decided I want to bring all of my data into Microsoft Fabric, not just the website pieces. So here, what's amazing is we've got our orders data here, but we've got this SQL Analytic endpoint that's available for the items within inside of Microsoft Fabric. And from here, I can do amazing things. So we can see our orders database here, but I'm going to go add in, I've got a SQL database that's here as well. And I'm going to bring that alongside. So now I'm tying in Cosmos DB data alongside with SQL data, and I can run a query across both of those and even leverage this back into my application or my Power BI report or whatever I need to do at that point. One copy of the data, everything's inside of Microsoft Fabric. Developers can access this outside of Fabric, and my business analysts can leverage it inside of Microsoft Fabric. All right, Arun, what do you think?
Thank you so much, Adam. So you can see where we're taking Fabric. We want to make it really easy for developers to build not just BI workloads or data warehousing workloads or Spark workloads, but build applications end-to-end and make it dramatically easier because Fabric's unified experience, unified architecture, and unified business model dramatically accelerates your time to value. And you also notice that all of the data is living in one lake, which is the SaaS version of the multi-cloud data lake that comes with Fabric. Now, we launched Fabric about 18 months ago, and I just wanted to give you a quick overview of how Fabric is doing. Now, as of today, Satya announced that Fabric has over 21,000 paying customers, organizations around the world that are currently using Fabric, and he also called out the fact that Fabric is the fastest growing data product that Microsoft has ever launched. In addition to the 21,000 customers, we find that over 70% of the Fortune 500 customers are already using Fabric. And when you look at how they're using Fabric, most customers end up using Fabric as an end-to-end platform. Over 50% of customers use 3+ workloads in Fabric. It might be Data Factory to bring in data, maybe some Spark or SQL to prepare the data, and maybe some Power BI to visualize the data. So you really think about Fabric really being designed as an end-to-end data platform, which is exactly how customers end up using it as well. So we have dozens and dozens and dozens of customer case studies that you can read up about, but I wanted to focus on 3 today. The first is Lumen. Lumen's a global communications company, and they were really looking not just for an analytics platform, but they were looking for an AI and data platform that really made it easy for their developers to get to business value. And they chose Microsoft Fabric. And already, Fabric has saved them over 10,000 person-hours in terms of their development efforts. The second customer that I wanted to highlight is EY. EY is a large global organization, and they have over 400,000 employees in pretty much every country on the planet. And what they were looking for was really an end-to-end data platform that really made it easy for them to collaborate across all of their divisions and really think about the entire data supply chain from the time the data is born to the time that the data is in the hands of their business users or in the hands of their customers. And they chose Microsoft Fabric as that platform to dramatically accelerate their data and AI transformation. And the third customer I wanted to highlight is Epic. Now, most people know Epic. They're by far the leader in providing healthcare solutions, definitely in the US and around the world as well. And Epic was looking for a data and AI platform that was the foundation of Cogito, which is how they deliver analytics and AI to their customers. And they chose Microsoft Fabric as the platform on which Cogito itself is built. Now, if you want to read up about these customers, as well as dozens and dozens and dozens of other customers who are using Fabric in production today, you can go to aka.ms Fabric Featured Customers. Now, when I think about the opportunity ahead, as excited as I am about the 21,000 customers, we think the opportunity to democratize data and AI is just so much broader. And one example of where we have done exactly that is Power BI. Power BI today has over 375,000 organizations that use it today, including 95% of the Fortune 500, and has 7 million monthly active developers. Now, what you're seeing here, this growth curve, is the actual usage growth of Power BI since the day we started. And you can see that even today, 10 years after Power BI was launched, it's still growing very, very quickly. And since we launched Microsoft Fabric about 18 months ago, the usage of Power BI has only accelerated. And the reason I'm bringing it up is for every Power BI developer, the 7 million Power BI developers, or pretty much every developer in our enterprise customers, we have made it really easy for you to be able to try Fabric out. So we're giving every developer an easy way to sign up for our Fabric free trial. Now, if you're in Power BI, as I am here, all you have to do is go to the top right, and you'll be able to start your Fabric free trial right from the screen. Now, we give every developer $17,000 of capacity over 2 months without requiring an Azure subscription, without requiring an Azure credit card, so that you can build something real and you can experience Fabric for yourself and you can see what Fabric can do for you. So that's what Fabric is. It's an end-to-end data and AI platform that really helps you accelerate your time to value. So now to go much deeper into Fabric, I'm going to invite Amir Netz, technical fellow and CTO. Amir.
Thank you, Arun. And OK, ready for the fun part of the presentation? We are actually going to go and take a look at all the features, the new announcements, the new innovations that we have. We're going to, as we always do, split the presentation into 3 parts. These are the 3 kind of core value proposition of Fabric. The first one is the AI-powered data platform. It's how we bring all the data technologies together in a fully integrated way in a SaaS platform. The second one is the unified data estate centered around one lake. And third, bringing all the insights to the business users directly where they work in their own M365 applications. So we'll take those, we'll start focusing on the first pillar, and it starts with the platform itself. It's everything that you need in order to build a business application, whether it's analytical or transactional, everything together. You have this concept of a project where everything in the workspace that you need in order to process your data, your databases, your pipelines, your real-time streams, your notebooks, everything that you need is all in one place, fully integrated, fully powered by CI/CD, and we get more. We have some heritage coming from Power BI of citizen developers, but when you go to Fabric, you have a lot of professional developers like you. And to help those professional developers, we have new kind of experiences. And we're incredibly excited to announce the general availability of the command line interface of Fabric. And I'm going to just touch a little bit about what is this command line interface. Well, we thought really hard about what does it mean for those professional developers that don't think that dragging and dropping and clicking around is kind of what professional developers do. They like their text terminal style interface and say, how do we create the best command line interface? And we said, you know what? We actually have a great one already in the works. Operating systems. You have Linux, you have Windows, they have command line interfaces. So what if we just adopted the exact same command line interface that we have in those operating systems to Fabric? And we took a operating system lens to look into Fabric, and you find that the commands that you're all used to, whether it's how to create directories or how to work with files, it's exactly the same command line interface you'll find in Fabric. So you want to create a new workspace, just a make dir. If you want to create a new lakehouse, well, CD into the workspace and then make dir a lakehouse. That's as easy as it is. Just if you know how to work with the operating system, you already know the command line of Fabric. So to show us more what you can do with the command line and how it looks and feels like, I'm going to have, again, Adam Saxon on the stage. Hey, Adam.
Hey, Amir. So, Amir, this is the one I'm the most excited about, just selfishly, right? This is bringing me back to my roots, and what's old is new again. So let's take a look.
Okay.
All right. So what we've got here is we've got a workspace that's got a pipeline and a lakehouse as part of it, and we can take a look at this pipeline. It's using some variables, parameters as part of it, and we like those because we can be dynamic with it. Then what we're going to do is we're just going to go ahead and run the Fabric command line interface. We'll get that. We can start doing, like what Amir said, we can go into a workspace like it's a directory, right? Just using a CD command. We can list out those items, or we could do a dir. At that point, we can go ahead and create a new workspace, because one of my goals is I need to copy that pipeline over because I've got another customer doing the same thing. And so we'll assign it to a capacity. This will work out great. And then what we can do as part of that is we can actually say, look, I want to copy that actual pipeline from the old workspace into the new workspace.
So just CP or copy, both will work.
That's it, either one. It's simple as that. Then once that's done, we can actually go back to the new workspace. We can open the browser even from the terminal and just say, look, I just want to validate. I want to visually see that it's there. This isn't trickery. We've got our pipeline. And we can look at that pipeline and validate, yes, it did actually copy the original pipeline that was in the old workspace. This is nice, but the pipeline needs to move some data.
So we need to run the job.
Well, we need to run the job, but what are we going to run it against? We got to create a lakehouse. So we're going to create that right from the command prompt as well. This is going to be just insane amazing as part of this. Okay, so we're going to grab the GUID as part of that lakehouse, and we're going to apply that because we've got that parameter as part of the pipeline job, right? And now when we go and execute this, that's actually going to move that data into the new lakehouse that we just created.
And we can run any kind of jobs we want.
Any job.
Pipelines, notebooks, anything.
Yes, anything. As part of that, we can also check the status, but then let's go look in the lakehouse and make sure, again, we're validating it, right? Let's make sure the data actually landed. We can see our products table there, and there's our data, because we just executed that pipeline as part of it.
But you can find the same data also in the command line.
Yes, absolutely. And what we can do here also is we can list out those tables. We see products, and even better than this, I can go look at the schema, Amir. I can go look at the types of data that's in there for the different fields. All of it's right here from the command line interface.
So the command line combines both control plane and data plane all in one.
All in one stop.
This is just amazing, right?
Yeah.
So this is just a retro demo. So much fun.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
All right, Amir.
Okay, So we saw the command line interface that kind of spans all the workload, but now we can go workload by workload. And we'll start with the databases. And databases, we actually, kind of the newest arrival into Fabric. We launched the first database in Ignite just 6 months ago. And the idea was that, we can bring together everything. First of all, we can SaaSify, create software as a service in the database. You get massive simplification. You get what we call the 5x5. 5 seconds to sign up, 5 minutes to wow, how easy it is to begin. How everything is integrated and allows you to build very easily. How everything is lights out operations. We removed, when we add the databases into Fabric, we really removed the walls between the world of the transactional stack and the analytical stack. Everything is together, both in technologies and in terms of data estate management. All the data of all kinds is sitting in OneLake, so it's really great. So feedback has been phenomenal. We have over 3,000 customers are already using the SQL database, and we are ready for phase 2. And this is what Satya announced this morning. We have now added the Cosmos DB in Fabric. So now we have both SQL database and NoSQL database. Adam ran a lot of big demo there, but just a couple of the principles here. First of all, if you don't know Cosmos DB, you haven't worked with it, it is the most scalable NoSQL database on earth. You heard about ChatGPT? It's powered by Cosmos DB. It's quite incredible. All those trillion of messages that you have between the users and the AI, they're all stored in Cosmos DB. The growth has been 1,000% over the last year, just in terms of the volume of messages that OpenAI is running on top of this. It is enterprise grade, but it's still SaaSified. It still fully stores all its data into OneLake, so it's integrated with everything else that we have in OneLake. You can run Spark notebooks on top of it. Adam showed how you can run queries across SQL and Cosmos DB together. And of course, everything can be accessed by Power BI and every other workload in Fabric. So it's really, really cool. Now, that's kind of a little bit on what's happening in the database. And there's a whole other core note by Shirish about other innovation databases. But we move to analytics. This is the world of data engineering, data science, data warehousing. We have tons and tons of innovations here. So we'll start a little bit with what's happening with the data warehousing. You can see there, so you can read on the sidebar some of those innovations. A couple I would like to point out. First of all, there have been a lot of asks here about ability to add more T-SQL constructs into data warehouse. So the two most requested ones, the alter table construct of T-SQL and the temp tables of T-SQL are now part of the data warehouse. Everybody is asking for it. Well, it's available. The other one that I think is really, really important is the seamless reporting integrity using warehouse snapshots. It means that when you update the data warehouse, you don't want the users to see partial results. So you can just log the data to the user. They see the previous version of the warehouse, while all the processes, you run notebooks, you run pipelines, you run everything that you run, they can update the data warehouse. Not in a single transaction. In multiple transactions, still, everything is still isolated for the business users that don't see the partial results. So that's super, super cool. In the world of Spark, we sneak peeked 6 weeks ago in the Fabric conference. We sneak peeked the Materialize Lake Views. Super excited to show you that it's now in public preview. You can use it. And what are these? Well, if you know views and you know Materialize views in databases, you kind of know what Materialize views are in Fabric. Basically, you can go to the lakehouse. You can define a view using the SQL language. And then what's cool about it, you can define many views. The system will figure out all the dependencies between the views, figure out the dependencies between the views and the sources, and will make sure that it materializes them into OneLake in the right order, and then maintains it automatically for you. And you can even add data quality constructs into the definition of the views. It's just very, very sophisticated. And the thing that I love about it the most, all the views are really showing in OneLake as delta tables, so you can instantly access them from all the other workloads. So the direct lake mode of Power BI will just work on it, and you can run SQL queries on top of those materialized views in the data warehouse, and everything else just works against those things. Another big announcement is the native execution engine of Spark. It's something I've been hard at work over the last 18 months. It's been in preview, now generally available, and it's a big deal because your jobs that are running on Fabric today, if you apply the native execution engine, on average, you'll run 2.5 times faster. And it just, that's big. And there is, so you save time. You don't have to wait long. You save latency, and you save tons of money because there's no rate increase with this. Just the same old rate apply now. You can just do 2.5 times more with the same level of compute, which is just awesome. The last thing I want to talk about is a long-time request we had. We had data science in Fabric. People can build machine learning models in Fabric, but Until now, it was really hard to put those machine learning models into action in real-time scenarios. If you want to prepare data, convert data in the notebook, that's pretty easy. You can do it today. But if you have an application that you want to be able to connect at real-time, get predictions, that was hard, but not anymore. And I'm going to invite my friend Aaron to the stage. Aaron. So tell us more about what is this real-time ML model endpoint.
So just as Amir said, we give you a whole range of features in Fabric to develop machine learning models, from rich developer experiences to MLflow integration to automated machine learning. But when you want to take those models and serve real-time predictions to custom apps or Power BI reports or your own, other Microsoft experiences, you really need these endpoints to do so. Now we have that capability in Fabric. These endpoints are built into your models as properties, and you can turn them on in a single call or a single click to stand up a deployment.
And you don't have to deploy containers. You don't have to worry about infrastructure. It's just completely SaaSified, right?
Yeah, we will take care of all of that for you. The infrastructure, the scaling, you name it. So you can focus just on serving those predictions. So we're going to hop into a demo. In this case, imagine we start in a Power BI report, and we want to overlay churn predictions for our leadership's monthly review. Now, we have a model to do this, but we need real-time predictions in order to call that model from our Power BI report or an app, right? Wherever you want to think about it. If we go to this model, it's going to expect all this information about customer demographics and account services and account information. And then in response, it's going to produce a prediction value. So as Amir said, we always have the ability to generate predictions in a Spark notebook, write those to a lakehouse, and ingest those predictions. But with endpoints, we also have the ability to serve predictions from a fully managed endpoint URL that Fabric will configure for you. So you can turn this on in a single call or a single click. Right in the interface, we're going to activate it, and behind the scenes, we'll take care of that container infrastructure for you, and it'll get to activate it.
So completely SaaSified.
Yes, completely SaaSified. You can configure things if you want under the hood, but we want to make it really easy to get started the same way you can with every experience in Fabric. So once you kick that off, you can actually start to test these predictions right in the product. You don't need to go anywhere. You can send sample requests, get sample predictions, and just make sure that your deployment is sort of functioning with real-time, sub-second latency the way you expect. I can send multiple rows to this endpoint to get multiple predictions at once. There's also a JSON editor built into this view for developers who want to experiment with larger payloads and test that out before you put this URL endpoint into your app or your own Dataflow or Power BI report. So we have this URL here for a specific version 7 of this gradient boosting model. But we also have a URL that corresponds to the overall model. And you can configure this with a default version because your data science team is training the latest and greatest versions. You want to swap that out without having to update those URLs in your deployments.
So the same connection will actually switch the underlying model under the cover depending on what version of the model you want.
Absolutely. And then that gives you the ability in another experience, whether it's an app or a data flow, as in this demo, to hit the latest version of that model for predictions in real time. So here we have these column values, and you'll notice that they correspond to the input signature of that churn model we were showing. You have all that information. We're going to send that row by row or batch it up to our endpoint, and then we're going to get these predictions back in real time. So we're adding a new column, basically, to this table. For each row of customer data, we're going to add a churn prediction because we then want to publish that and visualize it in a Power BI report. We put in that URL. Again, it's going to route to the latest version of our model or whichever version we choose. And then now we get this column of predictions for each of those rows, so we have churn information. And then when we publish that back in our Power BI report, we have access to all that data. So we can overlay those churn predictions on top of our visuals and drill into different segments for our leadership. So we did this from a Power BI report, but you could really do it from anywhere. A Python script, a custom app with endpoints, it makes it really easy to operationalize these data science solutions.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Aaron. And don't go away. We'll need you in a moment. So, okay, so we're moving on to the next workload, which is the real-time intelligence. And the real-time intelligence has been a rocket ship. If you haven't experienced real-time intelligence, the real-time hub, the event stream, the event house, the activator, all part of real-time intelligence, you've been missing something huge. It's been actually, the growth we're seeing here is just incredible. It's so, so unique. Now, we have a bunch of announcements that we have here. I'm not going to be able to go over all of them, but we'll start a little bit what's happening with the event stream. It's kind of combined what Event Hub was in Azure with Azure Stream Analytics, all in one, completely SaaSified. And now you can have transformations defined as part of SQL running directly on your streams in flight. That's pretty awesome. And then you can also make sure that those transformations are allowing you to put it in the events into canonical form. So if you have this kind of data that is streaming from devices, from telemetry, from time series, this is just an incredible way to ingest it. And then once you ingested it, well, then you have the Event House, which has an amazing query processor that can work on data of this kind of telemetry, semi-structured, time series. It's just incredible. And typically, you have to ingest the data first to the Event House in order to enjoy this kind of performance. But now, with the accelerated OneLake table shortcuts, you can actually connect the Event House engine directly into OneLake. So however the data showed up in OneLake, and you get this accelerated query performance on top of that. Super cool. Now, the other thing that we want to talk about is the digital twin builder, something that we sneak peeked in 6 weeks ago in the Fabric conference, and today it's going to public preview. Super excited about that. And Aaron, tell us more about the digital twin builder.
So you got the sneak peek, now you get the full view. We're expanding real-time intelligence with this digital twin builder. It allows you to create virtual representations of real-world systems and environments. You can then hook up those digital twins to real-time data. It's all integrated, whether that's data about systems or assets or processes. And you can contextualize that data with semantic relationships. We have a low-code, no-code builder. It's all really easy for action items, for decision makers, for operators to visualize data and then also act on that for advanced analytics.
And you think about the kind of thing that you can model here are just incredible. You don't model here just a simple customer product orders kind of things, but you model things like a factory that has 4 production lines. Each production line has different stations, the boiler and the paint station, all of that. You can just model it directly in digital twin or any other complex environment. So you want to take a look?
Yeah, we'll take a look at one specific example. So real-time intelligence is taking off for customers across a variety of industries. In this example, we're going to look at a sustainable energy company and a wind farm. So if you're familiar with turbines, I'm not. This is a great way to kind of get a closer look at that. We start off in Teams where we get an alert about one of the turbines on our wind farm. There's an anomaly. So we pop into this dashboard, and we can see something off, right, with the energy output here, but it's not a very holistic view. We need more context. We might want to drill in deeper, and that's where this digital twin builder experience comes in. We can hop into a representation that shows our digital twin, so we have the wind turbine in the context of everything else, the rotor blade, the transformer, all of that. We have those representations, and we can also drill into a history of faults and resolutions. Now remember, this digital twin builder, this digital twin is fully integrated with our data. So there's a tight integration there that lets us do analytics.
So we can find all those fault codes?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think we're going to drill in here, and we see a specific fault. I think here the issue is related to something in the transformer, right, of that gearbox. So we can drill into that, and back in a real-time experience, we can use Activator to create alerts. So we want our technicians to stay on top of these, to be able to respond proactively when things are going wrong, when data is crossing or coming under a certain threshold. And that's all built in. The idea is that the real-time intelligence is synced up with that digital twin builder, so it is all ready there for you to optimize processes.
Now, how do you handle the relationships?
Right, so the beauty of that integration with the data is then you can go into a notebook and start pulling out features, right, from the data that is undergirding this digital twin. So with the digital twin builder semantic relationships, we have the ability to ask questions like, well, I want to know what happens with the energy output based on wind speed, right? So we can pull out those features with standard data engineering and data science workflows. That's all integrated, and then start to do what-if analysis. And the other really cool thing you can do is you can extract, actually, in these notebooks, 3D metadata to do what we're going to show you, which is very special. You can then kind of take this data that you've extracted, right, and in the digital twin builder semantic relationship view, correlate it with that turbine, and the output is going to be a sort of 3D visualization. Now, that rendering can be done in applications such as those developed with NVIDIA Omniverse. So we're going to sync up that 3D metadata with our turbine, and then we're going to pop into that visualization, which we put embedded in a Power BI report, and we get that real full view. But this isn't just a toy. Remember, this visualization is synced up with our real-time data, with real-time intelligence, creating a really strong foundation in Fabric for all of this intelligence.
And all of you are probably asking, where did I get the 3D visualization? Well, this actually was in a Power BI report, and we are going to release these kind of visualizations, 3D visualization that can be connected to the real-time stream and into the digital twin builder, so you really get the 3D modeling directly into the in front of your end user without a single line of code.
Yeah, we're
awesome.
so glad to have it for you.
Thank you so much, Aaron.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, we're done with the first pillar. We're moving to the second pillar. This is the world of the data lake. This is the world of OneLake, the OneDrive for data. If you don't know what OneLake is and you've been sleeping under a rock for the last 18 months, it's been a phenomenal success. It is the one lake that holds all your data. It's globally deployed, infinitely scalable. Every piece of data that is generated in Fabric is stored into OneLake, organized nicely for you in OneLake. It's always in open format. There are no proprietary formats in OneLake. And it handles everything for you. It indexes the data for search. It scans the data for PII. It's computing the lineage across all the items in the lake. It handles the sharing, the compliance, the governance. It's just incredible. And because all the data is stored in an open format, the same format, you also save massive amount of time and money on moving data between the various workloads in Fabric, because it doesn't really matter who wrote the data into the lake, all the other workloads can instantly work with that. But not only that you get it as a storage system, the other thing that people really love about OneLake is the fact that it allows you to unify your entire data estate, because it also serves as a virtualization layer. It allows you to connect to data wherever it is, in any cloud, on premises. It allows you to connect to open storage system and open files just using shortcuts. So shortcuts are just pointers to files and folders anywhere, on premises, in AWS, in GCP, in Azure, and it instantly becomes part of OneLake. So you don't have to bring your data to OneLake. OneLake comes to your data. And if your data is not in an open system that you can just shortcut, we have another mechanism called mirroring. And mirroring allows you to go and connect to databases, which is typically the worst offenders in that category. They always store the data in this proprietary format. We allow you to just point to a database, super easy, and then we replicate the data into OneLake. We connect to the change data feed of the database, and then we maintain the data in OneLake in the open format in real time. And what's magical about it is not only that it's super easy, but it's completely free. You don't pay for the storage of the replica of the database. You don't pay for the compute that takes us to really maintain the replica up to date with the original source of the database. So it's just incredible. People absolutely love that. And the only feedback that we're getting is bring us more and more sources. So you can see we have here, I don't know, 12 sources here that we already been generally available on public preview. We are super excited to announce 2 more sources this conference. So if you have SQL Server 2025, which is about to be released on premises, then we know how to mirror this one very efficiently into OneLake, and the ability to create shortcuts into Azure Blob Store. And 2 sneak peeks. One is the Oracle database. You have Oracle databases. You want to mirror them into OneLake, again, for free. You can do that. You don't have to pay massive royalties to Golden Gate and others. And maybe the number one source everybody's been asking about, Google BigQuery. Yes, we now do mirroring into Google BigQuery. Well, not now, we're coming soon, but it's super exciting. Now the big announcement is, if your source is not one of those, now how many we have now? It's 16, I think. And so if it's not one of those 16 sources, then we have another mechanism, which is called open mirroring. And open mirroring, which is now generally available, allows you to, if you know how to connect to your source and bring the CDC feed, the change data capture feed, to Fabric, you hand it to us, we'll take care of the rest, again, for free. So all that, open mirroring for all the other sources that are not available out of the box supported, is now generally available. Very exciting. Now, talking about shortcuts, we have something new, which is, Satya mentioned it a little bit this morning. It's called shortcut transformation. And this is very unique. I'd like to have Carlene join me on stage. Carlene.
Thanks, Amir.
So what are those shortcuts transformations?
Well, you talked about it, right? We are super excited to announce today shortcut transformations in public preview. And so what we are enabling with this is shortcut transformations in Microsoft's Fabric's OneLake is going to allow you to drive AI-powered transformations as you're pointing to that data, to any of the great sources that you showed on that previous slide.
So typically shortcuts did not transform anything. They were one-to-one. But now we say you don't have to make it one-to-one. You can actually say, I'm pointing to a shortcut, to a folder, and then when I get in the destination, it can be different.
That's exactly right. So no manual processing or data movement involved. But if you have a couple of minutes, I would love to show you a couple of examples of how we put this into practice.
For you, I have a couple of minutes.
Thank you. So here we are in our Lakehouse. And as you can see, I have a folder that contains my daily sales CSV files. Now, there's a bunch of data in there, but I'd love to run some T-SQL managed queries against it. Now, to do this, I could go to my notebook, I could write a Python script and drive that conversion and probably set up a recurring schedule to make sure that it keeps refreshed. Well, not anymore. With the introduction of shortcut transformations, I can show you how easily it can be done by doing what you're probably familiar with already, which is creating a shortcut.
Just create it, point it.
So I point to the lakehouse. I'll quickly go and figure out where my folder sits that contains my CSV files. And this is where the magic happens. Automatically, Fabric detects which transformation would be in place right now. And so from this case, I want to go from CSV to Delta. I can change the file type. I can turn headers on or off. And I'm going to hit Create. For the sake of the demo, I'm not going to change the shortcut name, but I'll just go Next. And what's happening now is that managed table in Delta format is being created just instantly. So if you give it a couple of seconds, here we go. You see the CSV data now in a managed table. Now, you're probably wondering something. What if
you add more files?
What if I add more files? What if I change some of these files? What if I remove them? The good news is the shortcut transformations are detecting these changes automatically. And you will see, I just uploaded a couple of additional CSV files here. Just give it a couple of seconds to refresh the table. And you will see that the CSV data is incorporated. I went from 40 rows to 80 rows. I did not use any notebook pipeline. I did not use any sort of data flow.
This is just incredible, right? All you have to do is just drop files into the folder where the source of the CSV files are, and your data tables constantly update itself automatically. There's no scheduling, there's no ETL, there's nothing to do. And if you remove files, you update files, the data tables will just fall automatically, which is just incredible. Now, it doesn't have to be as simple as CSV to Delta. It can be a bit more sophisticated.
It can be more sophisticated, and as we know at this conference, everything has a little bit of AI infused, right? So let me show you another example. I'm back in my lakehouse, and this time I'm looking at some of my call transcripts. And as you can see, a bunch of text, but we have PII data in there. I don't want my data scientists, data engineers looking at this kind of information,
so
right?
We have to redact all this.
We have to redact that. So I could do that via a notebook, schedule a process, use a data integration tool. Not anymore. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to connect to my lakehouse, identify where my folder sits, and look at this. Right now, you're going to see a couple of examples of pre-built AI infusions. And here we're going to go for PII detection, because that's obviously what I want to run in terms of redacting that information. I'm just going to create the connection, hit Next. And what's pretty awesome here, so in this case, I'll just rename it to redacted folder so I can share that folder with my team so they are using the right files. And you're going to see immediately a new folder has been created. It contains the text files that I pointed to, but look at that. The information has been redacted.
It's just the power of AI.
Power of AI. I could have done this with sentiment analysis. I could have included it,
you're changing some
translating.
files. You're adding
And
more.
similarly as the previous one, it's going to keep the changes intact. So no new shortcuts need to be created, and all of it happens just automatically. Look at that.
So you just add more files. Again, the new file will get redacted automatically. If you drop files, the redacted
right.
file will be dropped automatically. It's just incredible how easy it is. So no scheduling, no notebook, no code. It's just we built AI directly into OneLake. OneLake is the first AI built-in data lake in the world.
Exactly.
Thank you so much, Caroline. Okay, so OneLake is just amazing, and we're just seeing amazing growth on the adoption of OneLake. You can just see 37 billion interactions per day, 4 million active shortcuts to all sorts of destinations, and over 6 times growth of the volume in OneLake just this year. Just incredible. Now, all this data is in OneLake, and you want to make sure that it's fully secured, it's fully governed, it's fully compliant. So we are continuing to work on that. We have announced the gated public preview of OneLake security in FabCon, and everybody can join in. All you have to do is just say, I want it, and you have it. And one thing that we're doing is we're making sure that everything I do in OneLake is covered by the OneLake catalog. And so OneLake catalog is generally available, but what we added now is the secure tab of the OneLake catalog. And in sneak peek, you see it here. And what it does, it allows you to have a central management point for all the security of all the items in OneLake. So you don't have to go to the individual item to set up table-level security, row-level security, column-level security. You can do it all directly from the OneLake catalog. You can get cross-tabulations, so you can see for every user what things they can see or can access, for every item what users can see and access, and then you can manage it all in one. Super exciting. There's a massive thirst for more security and governance features in Fabric. So you can see here the whole list we've been working on and shipped already. But there are a few items that I know everybody is waiting for. And the top two are the workspace private link and the outbound access protection, which was known as data exploitation protection before. And I'm super excited to tell you that next month they're coming into public preview. And by the fall, they're going to be generally available. A lot of you have been waiting for that, and it's really great to see that it's really coming to life now. Okay, so that's kind of about the OneLake and the data and the governance of the data. Let's move on to the third pillar. And this is the world of the business users, the world of the insight, and this is the world of Power BI. And Power BI has been incredible. We've been 10 years in the making. I want to share with you some of the adoption figures that we have. And it's really built on top of a semantic model that allows you to go and map the world of the data, how things are stored, to the world of the business, how things are described and what they mean. And then on top of that, we have the reports that allows you to do data visualization. We have data exploration, all of that. But as we are kind of moving deeper and deeper into the age of AI, there's a new modality that people want to have to interact with data, which is the ability to chat with their data. So we are adding this new capability of really having an interactive chat with the data that you already have in Power BI. And this really allows us to really go and create this layer on top of your data with semantic model that is going to power the chat. It's really important. If you just give an AI raw data in a database, most likely, just like a human, just give them a raw database with hundreds and thousands of tables, they get confused. But if you give them the semantic model, then it's much, much easier to work with the data because you already have the friendly names and the relationships and the metrics that you want to measure. All of that is built in the semantic model. But even then, you really want to give them a few more instructions. So what I'm going to have here, I want to invite Patrick to the stage. Hey, Patrick. And we're going to talk about how we can prepare our semantic model to chat with your data, right?
Yeah.
And how we have this new experience inside of Power BI to really chat with all data from all semantic models.
It seems like every time we get up here, we're up to something, Amir. Yeah. So imagine this, though. Imagine this. You have all these semantic models. You have all these reports. And I want to have a conversation with this data. How would you do that? How would you do that? Well, that's what I'm going to show you today. Let's take a look. Right? And so what we're introducing today is the standalone Copilot. So imagine you have data everywhere, right? You have all these semantic models that you've created in the OneLake, and you just want to have a conversation with them. I don't want to pick the semantic model. I don't want to pick the report. So right here, I just go, hey, give me an overview of my sales pipeline, and let me see, let's see what's going on with my sales. And just like that, it'll give me some relevant responses, Copilot will, and I choose it. And look at this, Amir. What does this look like?
It looks like a newspaper article.
Like a newspaper article, right? I published this newspaper, Amir. And so, but I can get really more specific, and I can say compare. Give me a comparison between revenue. Or I'm going to ask something really, really tough. I'm going to say, hey, do a cohort analysis of the Go Green initiative that's going on in my company. And God, Copilot got stuck. I expected a different visual here. But there's no way Copilot could do this.
Because the problem is Copilot has no idea what is this Go Green initiative. Copilot doesn't really know how we like to view cohort analysis. So we have, just like a new employee, we have to teach the Copilot what we mean.
We need to give it some context.
Yes.
So what we're going to do is we'll hop over to Power BI Desktop, and you'll see this new button at the top, Prep Your Data for AI. Okay? So we're going to make Copilot even smarter than it is. And the first thing we're going to do is, me and Amir, we kind of have this relationship with semantic models. And so we're going to clean this semantic model up a little bit. We're going to hide unnecessary columns. We're going to hide unnecessary tables to make Copilot more responsive and more efficient. Then we're going to give it some instructions. Anytime someone says, go green, or anything like that, we're going to automatically filter the data down to electric bikes. Okay? So we're just prepping our model here. And then also what we're going to do is we're going to make this a verified answer, Amir. And so anytime someone asks questions within the context of this cohort, I want this visual to show.
So this visual this is how the company looks at the cohorts. And so we make sure that let's not get the Copilot confused about it. That's what we want to say.
That's what we want to see.
We say cohort. Okay.
And then when we're done, we tell the service, hey, this model is prepped for AI.
And then we can just test it.
Then we can just test it. So let's take a look. So let's go back to that cohort analysis. Let's see if we've given it enough information. It gives me some relevant responses, and boom, just like that. it provides my question. But let's do something different. Let's switch gears a little bit. So I'm going to ask it about my opportunities and the status of my opportunities. I'm just having a conversation with my data right now. And so you can see it generates a line chart. It's really detailed, but I want to do something else.
I want to explore it.
I want to explore the data, right? So I'm going to click my Explore Data button, and now I'm in a new experience that allows me to interact with this data. If I want to, I can change the fields, I can change the axis, I can change the rows, I can even change the visual type. I can switch this up to a different visual. I don't like lines, I like bars.
So the classic, the clicky, draggy, droppy kind of thing, right?
Yeah, I'm going to get really interactive. I'm going to get intimate with my reports, right? So I can set filters, I can do all types of things right here, Amir.
So complete integration of the new with the chat and the old with the click and drag and drop and all of that. Super, super cool. Now, what's really, really cool about it is not only that you can use it and you have this new experience with Power BI, you see this new colorful icon just under the homepage that gives you that canvas.
Yep.
But we also completely removed all the barriers to entry. It used to be something that was locked behind an F64 capacity, but not anymore. Now everybody from an F2 and above, starting today, can use that experience.
It's exciting.
Okay.
It's exciting.
Now, this is how you work with semantic models. Now you also have the data agents in Fabric,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
And the data agents are kind of those virtual data analysts. This is where you want to go deeper. This is where you're going to say, I want to work with the raw data, with the lakehouse, warehouse, and I want to really give them, those agents, ability to analyze my data in depth. So that's something that we already ship, but what's cool now is that you can take those data agents and integrate them directly into the AI Foundry in Azure.
Yes.
And not only that, you can also integrate them into the Copilot Studio in Fabric, now in public preview. So all of that, all those data agents, yes, all those data agents can now be used directly in the rest of the Microsoft stack.
Yep.
Okay, enough AI. You know, you guys probably have AI fatigue at this point. We're going to do something different.
Let's do something different.
Okay,
Let's do
something different. Okay, so you know the thing that I love about Power BI, it's really connecting the world of the business user to the world of the professional data technology.
Yes.
Right, it's the bridge. And we have this world of Power BI, which is analytical, the world of the SQL and Cosmos DB, which is transactional. And what we really want is really to start thinking about the scenarios. You know, if they're all part of the same product, they're all part of Fabric, what could happen when we bring them together into the world of translational? The combination of transactions.
A new word.
Yeah, yeah, big word, yes.
That's fancy, Amir.
Yeah. So the idea here is that we can do something special. We can turn the Power BI canvas, which is typically just read-only canvas, we can turn it into a read-write canvas. And how do we do that?
With translytical task flows. We're introducing them today. And so what we're going to do, right? What we're going to do is we have our Power BI report, we have our SQL database, but what the glue that's going to put it together is this user data function, Amir.
Yeah. So we want to make Power BI update the SQL database, and it's going to go through those user data functions.
Yes, let's take a look.
Let's take a look. Okay.
All right. So we all know Power BI is great at slicing and filtering data and giving you a read-only view at that data. But on this report, I want to do something a little different. I have these discount percentages, and I want to give discounts. I want to sell more, right? And so I need to change this. How would you do this? I mean,
Well, that's hard. That's a lot of code, and you cannot do that in Power BI today.
yeah, but you and I have been doing this a long time.
we'll have to
We can
go
figure it
SQL
out.
database,
Yeah.
write code against
yeah.
SQL database.
Yeah, a few steps. We got to do a few steps. But you can take a look at my SQL database. This is the actual data that I use to source that report, and I want to change these discount amounts. And so, like Amir said, we can go through some steps and do different things. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to use user data functions inside of Fabric, and I'm actually going to create this integrated process that's going to bind these two together. So the first thing you want to do is create a connection. I don't even have to write anything. There's a button that'll add the connection directly to my function for me. So that saves me some time. And then I start defining my function with the parameters that I want to pass from my Power BI report, like quantity and
On
discount.
the discount, yes.
Yes. And then I'm going to put some validation because, like Arun said earlier, garbage in, garbage out, right? So I want to keep the data clean. And then there's my dynamic SQL statement. And we've been doing parameters for how long? Decades.
Forever, yes.
Since the 20th
And
century.
we all know how to write these kind of functions, right?
Yes. Yes. Yeah. So.
But the key is not just writing the functions, it's where you call them from.
So right here, we're going to wire it up. So everybody's using buttons. We've been using buttons for a long time in Power BI. So you use a button with this action, and I choose a user data function, the name of my function, and then I can actually use the new slicers to pass those parameters in. If you want to write some DAX, write some DAX. It's simple to do. DAX is the easiest language in the world. And then once you do that, you go ahead and press the button and watch what happens, Amir. Watch this.
It's just changed.
Right.
Directly from the Power BI.
Directly
so you
from the
don't
Power
have to alt-tab to something else. It's
Nope.
just directly the Power BI report.
And
you
I
can
can
do
even give you
it
some-
on singleton rows. You can do it on a bunch of rows. Let's do a different set of rows.
And I can do it over and over again. And what we've done is what everybody's been asking for. We've created a right back experience in Power BI.
So that's really great. Well, now,
Yeah.
this is this is quite transformational
Yes.
because for 10 years Power BI has been just a read-only surface, and now the set of scenarios we're going to open up by allowing Power BI to update your data, and it's all part of a single product. It's all part of Fabric. So the database in Fabric, the functions of Fabric, Power BI is in Fabric. So you can now build. It's a whole new set of capabilities, scenarios. I cannot even imagine what you guys are going to build with the combination of Power BI, the SQL database of Cosmos DB, and the functions. In my opinion, this is the most transformational feature we added in Power BI since its inception and before.
Yep.
Okay, so
It's bananas. It's bananas.
Okay, thank
Thanks,
you so
man.
much.
All right.
Okay, so we're kind of at the end of the journey, and it was a real whirlwind tour of everything we have in Fabric, and you see a lot of announcements. But if you want to see even more announcements, more crazier announcements, well, you just have to join us in Vienna in the fall, where we have the Fabric User Conference. We have some amazing lineup ready for you guys. It's going to be amazing, and so please join us. And we have tons of other breakouts in this conference as well. So thank you so much and have fun.